series, we've seen a total of less than 300 runs. 270 all
Your mic is apparently malfunctioning. Yeah.
No, the series of firsts, when you look at it, 2025 continues the year of firsts. India won a toss. That is the big breaking news, my friends. India winning a toss, restricting South Africa to under 300 for the first time in the series. In a series that has seen three 350 plus scores, one 300 plus score, 270, 2.1 overs not been batted out. South Africa all out for 270 with Kuldeep Yadav's 4 wickets, Prasidh Krishna's 4 wickets. Despite Quinton de Kock's 106, South Africa are 60-70 runs short.
Comfortably. Look, we know that where they're playing today, there's not going to be that much due in terms of the onset won't be as early. That is the talk we've heard from the camps as well, saying that no, we know that the due onset won't be as big or won't be as early. So what was happening in the last 2 games was that as soon as pretty much the innings were starting, you had maybe a few overs and then the ball was getting wet. It would have been like bowling with a bar of soap. But here, the due onset is later. And South Africa, I don't think they've got enough runs to play with. And there will be questions asked about what was the need to do this experimenting that they did with the top order. You've got an Aiden Markram who got you 100 in the last match, who even in the first match looked good. You pushed him down to number 5 for what reason? Because you wanted to give Quinton de Kock some time out in the middle, because Quinton de Kock was coming in at number 1 and not quite working out. Then I'm sorry, then you need to kind of figure out the composition of your team. If you're playing 3 openers and you're reaching a point whereby you're having to move one of them around, and I'm sorry, if I have to move anyone around, it will not be the player in form. I would not have pushed him down. I would have actually pushed down a Ryan Rickleton, who's not had a good series throughout.
Which makes you wonder why you got Rickleton in the first place.
They were already sort of pegged back because of injuries. Nandre Bauer, who looked good, isn't part of this match. O'Neill Bartman, who didn't impress in the first match, was forced to come back into the 11, and Tony DeZorzi went. He scored a good knock the other day, and then the other one as well. As I said, Berger also went out. So there were already forced changes that you were reeling with. It's a series this side. The cusp of history South Africa found themselves on. They still are technically, because the match only at the halfway stage, but there is no two ways about the fact that there is only one team that's ahead right now, and that's the Indian team. Looking at the kind of scores, looking at the due factor, looking at the pitch, looking at where South Africa were at one point, you thought that perhaps 300 will be breezed once again. Maybe not 350. They didn't sort of have the foundation to go past the 350 mark, but you knew anything around 310, 320, because of there being lesser due than what we saw in the first 2 matches. Maybe it could be a competitive match. At the moment though, at 270 all out, when conditions for batting were good, very decent sort of help for bowlers, okayish, but more so I would say conditions in line for good batting. I think there's only one team, and that's the Indian team, who have the noses in front right now.
There is nothing on this wicket which will cause any demons to the batters. Look at all of the guys who got out. Look at all the guys. Look at Temba. Some bit of extra bounce, but he cut it straight to backward point. Okay. Look at Bretske. Okay, that had maybe, again, it was a off-cutter. But Bretske played across the line. Plumb LBW. Look at Markram. Bad shot again. Look at Janssen. Bad shot again. Devol Brevis. Bad shot. Corbin Bosch just was beaten in the flight. Nothing was there in the pitch. South Africa gifted their wickets away. There was this middle phase. 77 for 5, 59 for 3. Tailstein said, mind-numbing. Why are they playing that kind of shots? Simple. South Africa have frittered away the advantage, and luckily, looking at the current situation, if I am in the Indian camp, I am avoiding a 38-year low. Because why I say a 38-year low? The last time India lost both a test and ODI series at home, bilaterally, was 38 years ago, 1987. When you lost 1-0 to Pakistan in the 5-match test series, and you got lost 5-1 in the 6-match ODI series to them. Since then, you've never lost 2 formats on the trot, ODI and tests, against any team.
So in that sense, they'll avoid that. But I mean, if I'm looking at South Africa, I'll look at how it is that de Kock was batting. and say that why couldn't someone else pull up that sort of an innings? He wasn't looking to be overly aggressive throughout. There were points where he was kind of being collective. There were times where he was picking his shots. But it wasn't an overly aggressive... It's not a T20 now. It's a good one day now. By even modern day standards. Everyone else seemed determined to just play T20 style hikes. Which makes no sense. It's a 50 over match. You have to remember that even in great batting conditions, you still need to see out your innings. You haven't. It wasn't because there was anything extraordinary in the pitch. There wasn't. This was a very typical white ball wicket. It's flat. It's hard. One or two more batters just needed to get a bigger score and you would have been in excess of 300 and very much in the game. The problem is that in 270, in today's day and age, just doesn't look intimidating anymore.
You know what? One could say that South Africa may have an outside chance because remember first ODI, India had them on the mat at 11 for 3 or something. But even then, where did that team end up going to?
300 plus.
347? I think that much. So no, yeah.
317, I guess.
320 or whatever it is. They came very close. They needed
from 11 for 3.
From 11 to exactly in that humongous chase that you were put into, the team still managed to get there. So you could say that perhaps, even if you have India reeling at 20 for 3 in the upcoming half hour. But you see, given the past precedent, there is a team that managed, in fact, it's the opposition only that managed to score 300 plus.
332.
You don't have those many runs on the board. So they've clearly underperformed, and I completely agree with what Shane says that you had to bat your bat the time first. You had to show the willingness to spend time in the middle, and too many of those batters guilty of playing bad shots. There were probably very less wicket-taking deliveries, nothing to take away from both Prasidh and Kuldeep finishing with 4 wickets each. But cross-batted shots, Bretsky, he was looking good. He was going almost run a ball. In fact, a little ahead of that mark, but plays that cross-batted shot to Prasidh Krishna against the run of play that came. That wicket came for the Indian team.
Yeah.
And you were only gifting wickets after that point. Aiden Markram, again, he won't be very happy with the shot that he ended up playing. There was just a dolly of a catch to Virat Kohli. And then after that point, it was just a landslide. Devil Brevis, he's had some form. Again, got some runs. But Kuldeep Yadav then coming into his own, getting rid of both Jansen and Brevis after that. It was all Indian bowlers dominating South Africa's. I think this is just formality now. Matter of few hours, India emerged victorious 2-1 in this series.
I mean, see, they only have themselves to blame, South Africa, for falling 60-70 runs short. They needed 340, 350 because the due will come later. But it is later where you set the platform, and by the time India get into the chase, see, it will happen in the next 15 minutes or so. You are not going to see that much of due in the starting hour. And once the due comes, when you have the old ball, gone. The game is gone at that time. Okay. You struggle to control the old ball and the new ball with due on. And you don't have the caliber of spinners that is there in the Indian lineup with Kuldeep Yadav. And I'm sorry, Keshav Maharaj is a very decent and a very good ODI bowler and a test bowler, but he's no Kuldeep Yadav.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the guile, he doesn't have the variety, and that is why I think India will have to negotiate him. Jansen, if he can get some bounce from this particular deck, extra bounce, which will trouble the openers, and in particular Yashasvi Jaiswal. This is the ideal total for a Jaiswal to just go gung-ho. He need not be intimidated. He's not setting the thing. Just time it to perfection, see the situation and go for it. So this will be a key test for Yashasvi Jaiswal. But again,
before we just delve into the Indian batting, a quick word on 2 Indian bowlers, both finishing as joint highest wicket takers. Let's start with Prasidh. The man got a lot of flack.
Yes.
At the end of the previous match, in fact, even the way that he started, he leaked runs at 13.5 and over after his first 2 overs, but finishes with 4 wickets, having given away 66 runs, finishing at an economy of 6.7, which is the highest amongst all Indian regular bowlers. I'm discounting Tilak Verma over there. What do we make of his performance? Who wants to start?
I'll go. I think it's basically what we expected from him. Look, we know he gets wickets. Wickets have never been his issue. In recent times, when you look at his recent performances, where I've said he's kind of starting to figure things out. In the IPL also, he was expensive, but he got you wickets. In the England series also, he was expensive, but he got you wickets. His problem at this point in time is only his economy. consistently, and that unfortunately continued on today in a game where, see, you've got Arshdeep Singh going at 4.4, Harshit Rana also someone who's on the expensive side going at 5.5, no wickets, were very economical, 2 maiden overs. You've got a Jadeja going at 4.6, Kuldeep at 4.1. The fact that he's going at 6.7 still sticks out a bit like a sore thumb, but I think obviously there's no point glossing over it or looking over it too much, because they only scored 270. I think in that sense his wickets were very important today, because he came up against a South African side that was just hell-bent on throwing them away.
Have these wickets, to you, Siddharth, if you could answer this for us, have all these wickets, 4 wickets, and he'll be very happy with that. Have these 4 wickets in a way ensured that he remains in the scheme of things for ODI cricket? Because remember, the way that he started, I'll come back again, there was a lot of fury directed at Prasidh Krishna again. Could these 4 wickets have just changed the narrative for him?
Look, he got 4 wickets, so he's kind of escaped. He was on thin ice. That thin ice remains for another day.
Okay.
But we know how fickle and how short-sighted the Indian fan is. Okay. Prasidh's 4 wickets today, instead of a category 5 rage, it will only become a category 4 or a category 3.
I'd say a 3.
A 3, okay? Because see, the performance in Raipur will not be forgotten. Irrespective of the fact that you were like basically on a skating rink and you had the ball equivalent to a bar of soap. Okay? Try bowling in the dew, try bowling and all that. It's very difficult for even experienced guys to control. Okay? Prasidh will not escape that scrutiny at all. However, it's a strange twist because 3 years ago, Prasidh was your best ODI bowler. You saw in the series against the West Indies, he was pretty good.
I remember even...
Ahmedabad matches.
No, not just that. If you're talking 3 years ago, that was 2022. I remember he was pretty decent in England as well.
Yeah.
That ODI series you had, he was good there. So it's always been a bit of a, I don't know, you could say a conundrum of sorts with him, that you know he's got the tools. It's just whether or not he can put it together, and that has been the big problem.
Is he, today he was in some way reminding me of Umesh Yadav. Lot of promise, there'd be wickets, but there'd be a lot of runs that'd be leaked in the process.
You're being very unfair on Umesh. I know at his worst he sprayed it around.
Yeah, he was also very, very guilty of not having control. And I think Prasidh's...
See,
he does tend to remind me a bit of Umesh, where you knew he's a wicket-taking bowler, you knew he'd give you something, but he'd also prove to be costly.
Umesh would spray it to the left, spray it to the right. But again, see, this is deja vu for Prasidh. You would remember in that England series also, he felt the full fury of Bazball. He was hit for over 6.5 runs economy rate. He was tonged around in Edgbaston. You remember that one particular session, I think it was Jamie Smith and Pope.
Yes, it was Pope.
Pope and Jamie Smith, where they absolutely took Prasidh to the cleaners. Edgbaston.
Or was it Brook?
I think it was Brook.
It was Brook.
Those mammoth centuries that
Yeah,
we
Brook
saw.
and Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. But then Prasidh had his redemption moment at the Oval.
Yeah.
Now he's had tremendous amount of hate thrown at him after Raipur. Now he's bounced back, although a bit too late, but then still 4 for 66 is pretty good.
I wouldn't say late. He's bounced back at a crucial time. Potentially, it's a series-winning spell. The other thing
Set up by Kuldeep at the other end.
The other thing also worth noting is that I don't think it's going to be coming under too much scrutiny for another very simple reason. Sure, you've got an ODI series against New Zealand after this, but now you're only focusing on T20s. And even after that, if you have ODIs, which you're going to have obviously a fair bit, because then you're looking forward to the World Cup, he's not going to be playing. He's basically the backup to Bumrah. Bumrah will be the first choice there, so he might only get a few games here or there. And in that sense, I think he'll escape a lot of scrutiny also, because again, I don't mind him as a squad player, but if he's someone who I have to be picking to play all games in a tournament, that's a problem.
Once your regulars are back, remember there's a Hardik who's back as well. You would require a fast bowler less.
Yeah, once Hardik comes back, then Harshit goes out.
Exactly. Harshit also probably moves out the moment that you have a Hardik back. But very quickly, I believe the Indian batters are already warming up and are willing to take the field now. Virat Kohli. Is there a third century one can expect? Are there enough runs? This is a venue where he scored 3 centuries in excess of 550 odd runs, averaging 97 point something, just about 98.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting a century here, because I think one of the openers will bat long and might probably get that century. There's not enough runs. That's my problem. I don't think there's enough runs. It's not out of the realm, but I would say that it's likely you'd see either a Jaiswal or Rohit get a ton today.
And Virat
I do expect him to
perhaps
have
be
a
there
good
in
knock.
the 70s, 80s.
Yes, I do expect him to have a good knock because again, one, it's Vizag. He loves Vizag. He's got a lot of runs there. Two, it's a chase. How often in recent times have we seen Kohli get to chase?
Sydney.
How about though? We know Jaiswal's had a left arm problem off late,
Jansen.
but today as well, there may not be a burger to trouble him, but there is a Jansen.
Yeah.
And that if there is an early breakthrough, that does open up the gates
Yeah.
for a Virat Kohli 100 then.
That's the only way, I think.
Yeah.
That's the only way, I think.
I think you're seeing a repeat of Sydney. Swap rules.
Oh, so Virat
Gets the 100 and Rohit gets the 70, 80.
70, 80, 84 or whatever that he managed.
74, I think he had got.
74 he got. I think you might see it. Because see, it's a chase.
How would the crowd love that?
Yeah, it's a chase. It's Vizag. It's a road. You got the best batting conditions now. The recipe is there. You just have to now enjoy the feast.
But I'll feel for Jaiswal if he gets out early.
Yeah.
I won't if he gets out to a left-hander because there's a clear pattern there.
Yeah.
I hope he survives. I don't mind a breakthrough, and of course, at some point, you will have South Africa pick a few wickets here and there as well.
I mean, in South Africa, it was Nandreberger and Jansen who troubled him. In the BGT, it was Stark who troubled him. Here, it's again Jansen who's troubled him. So, he needs to sort out that left arm problem.
Yeah.
I mean, he can look after his fellow competitor in the rival team, Quinton de Kock. In his entire career, struggled against left arm pace. But still, he's managed to overcome it through certain nuances that he did. So, yeah. De Kock, look at his record against Stark, look at his record against Arshdeep, look at his record against all the other left arm pacers.
What's his name?
Bolt. He's had a terrible record against them. So, that's the way. And Naveen, let's take some comments because I think the Indian team are soon going to come out. This clearly showed, Naveen is like saying that how good India's batting and horrible bowling from SA without any due in first two matches, only because of toss SA won the previous match.
I agree. I think, see, it's not only because of the toss, but let's be fair by saying the toss gave them a huge advantage because the Indians were bowling with a wet bar of soap.
But scoring 350 or twice, again, you've got the bowling may
There's
have been
skill.
exactly the bowling may have been average, but you can't take it away from the batters. You saw centurions emerge, you saw 50s over there, you saw the attack being taken to the Indian. Whatever said and done, you've seen not every time in dewy conditions does the team chasing win always. You've got to give it to the visitors as well. That was a high skill knock we saw from Markram the other day. From Jansen, that assault of his.
Yeah.
So you've got to give it.
Bosch, and then you also had all the other step-ins. So see, conditions, you have to control the controllables. You can't control the conditions. If it's winter time in India, you will get excess dew. It will happen. So you can't do that. And why so serious? And doesn't it feel like, why did they remove RS as captain? Oh, different debate or
But
a
I
different
agree.
time.
It's kind of pointless. I do think in hindsight, it was a call. I remember that time I was okay with it because I have said this on other platforms and social media and stuff like that I was okay with the
What
long
other
term.
platforms, Shane? Do you
My
have access
personal
to?
Instagram account. No other platforms. I'm legally not allowed to be on other platforms.
That's what. I'm interested now. I want to know.
No other platforms.
What is it that's keeping
But I
Shane
was okay
occupied?
with it. I was okay with it. But again, you also have to look at it and say, was it really needed at that point in time? It felt like a message was being sent.
Yeah.
That we're removing him as captain or just changing captains because we're looking at 2027.
But again, practically, even with Virat, okay, it fell in place. But then even Virat quit in the halfway point of the previous cycle also in 2021.
I remember. Yeah.
So Rohit got the captaincy in that halfway period only as a full-time one.
Yes.
Here, when you look at it, a 4-year cycle has ended and you're starting a new cycle now.
Correct.
So technically, if you had to make the change, it had to be now. Otherwise, after 2027.
See, you get that because you weren't sure of form. Again, you were hoping that the form continues and all. And you were just trying to put yourself, just safeguard yourself in a way that if form sort of eludes him, if there's things that go wrong with his fitness, let's have somebody else prepared. But to me, it felt like, you were placing the bull before the cart. Felt like that.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
BTU, let's take one last comment before we see the over. Guys, I think KL deserves all the credit now. BTU is saying. Batting first in 2 matches, he played top knocks without due help and now restricting SA to below 300, been very good as captain.
Yeah, I mean, it merits a deeper discussion. I think he's also the captain who's finally broken that cursed toss jinx.
Oh, yes.
Finally done and dusted. I think it'll merit a deeper discussion in the post-match and the kind of captaincy he showed because I think it was effective.
and the fact that, remember, there was this talk going on that captaincy pressure gets to him. He's not able to get those runs when there's added responsibility. I'd like to believe he's also done well on that part, because twice you've seen very good knocks from him, batting lowered on the order.
Exactly.
So yeah, more on that in a couple of hours' time. Only a matter of time that India emerge victorious.
Oh.
Any of you two giving South Africa a chance?
No.
Too low
Few
total.
runs. If it had to be even 320, I'd have said we'd have a game on our hands.
Yeah.
But 270, nah.
270 in the modern era feels like the 210, 220 in the
Exactly.
previous era.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
In the era of flat bats, flat wickets, huge, smaller boundaries, it's a total, as I said, 60, 70 under par.
Easy.
Easily, yeah. And
Anyhow, we're going to be seeing you after the proceedings get over in Vizag, and it's going to be a marathon discussion as we look back at the series. Look forward to your thoughts at that time. For now, it's bye-bye from all three of us.
bye-bye.